Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe Beck, and I'm going to do my weekly reading update for October 31st, 2021. So wow, we're at the end of October. That's amazing. I just came from outside raking leaves, so I'm a little tired now, although it's Sunday morning. Anyway, so we're going to get this done. This was the longest week ever at work. I don't know what it was. I was so bored in a lot of ways. I did work and stuff, but I meant the hours just dragged. It was a really long week. And then, I don't know what it was about that. It was just so weird. And it could be just because we're a little stressed out. There's some changes happening at work next week, probably. So I don't want to talk about that yet, but it's just like kind of stressful on that point. And everything. So good. One of the good things was, I forgot to mention last week, I did watch the Dune movie. I enjoyed it a lot because, again, I love Dune, the book. I thought they did a really good job on it. The few little changes weren't big enough for me to be like, well, that was, you know, why did you do that? But I kind of see, but not all of them. But that's fine. Again, I think overall it was a great movie. I'm glad they greenlighted the next one so that we'll get the second part. And it would be awesome if they did Dune Messiah as well, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, so that's kind of that. I've been not doing much else. It's just, and my reading has been all over the place. So let's talk about the books that I finished, the ones I'm in the middle of, and what I think I'm going to read in the next week. So this was a weird week because I started out really strong and I finished all the audiobooks that I wanted to try to get done before the end of the month. So that actually worked out really well. But then after I finished those, I got started into another one and then I just can't finish. I had to take another break because I don't listen to audiobooks all the time. And if I listen to it too often, I stop. So I need to take a break. But I did finish 3 in a row. The first one I finished was Dracula by Bram Stoker. So I had read this book a couple times in the past. It's been, I figured it's been at least 15 years since the last time I read it. So I listened to the audio that had Alan Cumming and Tim Curry and Simon Vance. It was really a good one on Audible. It was free on Audible Plus or with your membership and stuff. So it was a really good audiobook and I really enjoyed it. So I didn't remember everything that happened in here. I think I still have too many images from the 90s Dracula film that my cousin loves so much that we watch so often. But I just didn't realize where this went and the differences. And I really enjoyed it much better this time around. I think because I've read so many books that are kind of connected to it. After reading Powers of Darkness, which was the Icelandic version, it's really interesting to read the original again and go, okay, this was the original source material of the novel that we get everything else from. And I thought it was really good the audiobook was really good, so I'd recommend them. And as I said, I really like Dracula. I actually, on the reread, decided I must have put a 4-star on it when I started Goodreads back in 2010. And I just changed it up to a 5-star because I thought it was really well done and much better than I remembered. So I did read that. What did I finish next? I think I finished Dr. Thorne by Anthony Trollope. So this is book 3 in the Barsetshire series. Again, I read Dracula and this one for Victober. So I got at least a couple more done before the end. And I have one more to talk about. So a couple more to talk about that are not done. Anyway, but Dr. Thorne is the bane of my existence for this year. I meant to read the whole Barsetshire series this year with a group on Instagram, and I just couldn't do it after into this book. I got 60 or 70 pages in, and I just was like, I'm done for a while. And that was in April. So I picked it back up in October to at least finish it, and it did take me... I would say this book I've nearly DNF'd it 4 times. So, but I made it through. Did it on audio in October, thinking maybe that would work rather than reading it physically. And let's hear. Sorry, little notes on the back. Timothy West did the audiobook. I really recommend him. That was a really good one. I also got that on Audible Plus, and I think that's the only reason I made it through this book is because he he did the narration so well. Like, I can hear Anthony Trollope's voice of, being the narrator of this story, which is a little snarky sometimes and a little like, oh, we're not going to talk about that, or you don't need to know about that, or anyway, that was the only good part. Dr. Thorne is about Dr. Thorne and his niece and their relationship with the primary family in Greshamsbury, the Greshams, and how the families deal with when the young Frank comes of age and he is determined to marry Mary, who is Dr. Thorne's niece, but everybody else doesn't want that. And there's a lot of other stuff to it. I think overall it was a good book. I just did not enjoy it. I think I spent most of my time rolling my eyes at what people said or did. And I was just like, and it went mostly the way I thought it would. I don't think I had there's a couple surprises on how things went, but mostly I kind of guessed everything. There was a wealthy, well, she's not a spinster, but she's a wealthy heiress that is in here, and I love her. She was one of my favorite characters in here. Anyway, so that was, I wanted more of her and her story. But I just did not get along with it. So again, I'm halfway through now the Barsetshire series. I will try Framling Parsonage, which is the next one, but it won't be until next year. And I don't know if I'm going to wait till October or try to do it some other time. I just don't know how I feel about this series now. And I don't know if Anthony Trollope is the writer for me, just because they're very domestic. They're very, small town, or, everybody knows everybody's and everybody's business and all that kind of stuff. And I just don't know if those kind of stories are for me, because even now, it's too it's like a contemporary of that time period. It's just, I don't know if I can read any more of these. So we'll see. I have them all, of course, and I have like at least 8 other Trollope books on my shelf. I don't want to give up on him completely just because of this book, because I did like The Warden and Barchester Towers. So I will give Framling Parsonage a try, but sometimes next year, it's going to be a while. And then the other audiobook that I finished was Exit Strategy, by Martha Wells. This is the 4th book in the Murderbot Diaries, and I listened to this on audio, and it was done by Kevin R. Free. So I got this from my library. Because I had such trouble with the 3rd one getting into it, I didn't want to buy any of these. So I just thought, I'll just get through my library. So I got the audiobook, which was really good. I really enjoyed this one, wrapping up the first 4, the arc of the first 4 novellas. I think it did a really good job. I mean, it could have ended right there. So I have asked for network effect from the library, and I'm like second of, on the list to get one of the 4 audiobook copies. So I probably will get it sometime in November, and I will try that. It's longer, so I'm not sure how I'm going to handle the Murderbot for a whole novel instead of just a novella, but we'll see. This again is, I don't want to say too much about what happens in here because it's wrapping up what happens in the other 3 novellas. And I thought it was really well done. I enjoyed this quite a bit, and I'm glad that I got to read that. So let's see here. What was the next thing? Okay, so then again, I think part of my reason for stopping or listening to audiobooks is because this book came in. This is Archangel's Light by Nalini Singh. And again, I just got this on Tuesday, and of course I finished it by Thursday. This is book 14 in the Guild Hunter series. So do not start with this book, but this book was fantastic. This is one of my favorite books in the series. I think I'm definitely going to be rereading this really soon because so much happens in this that builds from everything you've read in the other books. So again, don't start here. But we follow 2 of the main angels who are part of a tight group of warriors who follow one of the archangels, Raphael, who is one of the main characters of the story of the series. And so these 2 have pretty much grown up together, and it's so it's showing their story of nowadays how things have because again, this world has archangels, vampires, and guild hunters, who are people who hunt vampires who kind of go rogue. So and then normal humans, and it's just showing them from like all the stuff that's happened in the first 13 books of the world, and they're dealing with those consequences and their relationship on where it is right at that time. And then it goes back and it has flashbacks of when they were younger and the things that we've heard about in other novels, but we actually get to see it. And that was the best part of this, is that seeing those things. And so I'm so glad that she wrote this book. I know not everybody, this is not the way they wanted it to go, but I loved what happened, and I loved that I did not conceive how that would play out as well as it played out. This was a fantastic book. I kind of said, I don't think it's any surprise. This is a 5-star read, and it's a book I'm going to be rereading really soon. I love this book, and it was just fantastic. So anyway, don't start here, even though this is a great book. You need to read the other books to understand a lot of the stuff that's built into that. But I think, again, the world building just grows, and she is so, Nalini Singh is just, I just think does her world building and her found family and just group dynamics and people and their relationships. It's just fantastic. I love all this stuff in that. Anyway, clearly love it. And then I read one short story from this collection, from Bram Stoker. It's the Dracula's Guest, which is kind of a deleted chapter 1 from Dracula that his wife published in 1914. So no, it doesn't count for Victober. But I did read it because I was just doing all my Dracula reading. So it was really interesting having Harker in Munich before he goes to Count Dracula's castle, and something that happens there kind of spooky. And it was really kind of nice to read that, right before Halloween. So I did like that. I did not read any of the other stories in here because I got my own copy. This copy's from the library and it stinks. Anyway, so the point is that I'm glad to be taking that back. But it was just a little like 19 page novella, or sorry, chapter. So it was like short story. So I didn't have much, it just wasn't very much, but it wasn't enough but I want to read the rest of the stories in there at some point. So I bought a copy. It's on its way. Whoops. Anyway, we'll talk about book buying in another video. And then the next thing is I read a short Murderbot kind of in-between book called Home, Habitat, Range, Niche, Territory. This comes after book 4. So this is 4.5. This is actually told from the point of view of one of the people that Murderbot knows from the first book and so on. And again, she was in the 4th book for sure. So it's her kind of the aftermath of 4. And I thought it was really an interesting look at from another point of view of Murderbot. So I like that. So it was really short again, and not just about 20 pages. I just wanted to check it off before I got to the next network effect shows up. So anyway, so I did read that as well. So that was good. And then yesterday I finished The Atrocities by Jeremy C. Shipp. So I picked this up in my library on Thursday. They had a whole section of short books, and a lot of the short books I'd read, which was kind of surprising, or I just didn't care about. But this one was like more spooky-ish, and I thought, oh hey, those are one of those Thorne novellas. Hey, I haven't read that one and I don't own it, so let's just pick it up. It's like 105 pages. And I did not like this. This was like a major miss for me. So this has to do with a woman named Dana who has a lot of stuff in her own past, and she goes to be kind of a governess to a young girl named Isabel, and the first introduction is awesome. Is she's walking through like a maze of statues, and they are grotesques, and they're the atrocities, and this family had them for years, has been building these statues and stuff, and they're like people who have things coming out of their eyes, or their hands are like claws, or they're they're like in horrible torturous vision, like they're just stone statues in a maze. And it's just like, I guess they have every year they have some kind of event that people come and look at it. But anyway, but it starts out with these really great statues, and then she gets there and it's all kind of weird, the house with the parents, and she doesn't see the kid, and I think the kid's supposed to be 10 or something, I don't remember, and not very old. Anyway, and then the housekeeper Robin is funny, and then Rose, the gardener who's there. And she's the woman's kind of like, as I said, going into this situation thing, she's going to teach this young kid some stuff who had an accident, who needs to, have had instruction and hasn't been in school or something. And it comes to be kind of a ghost story. And yet it's not. So I'm not gonna, I don't know, it's a weird one. And I think some people probably do really like this. I don't usually look at Goodreads reviews after I've read something. So most of the time I just don't care, because I'm mostly soft one out. But by the time I get to the end of this book and I'm like, what the heck did I just read? A lot of people agreed with what I thought about things. There's so much potential in here. And it's so short, but it goes in directions where I'm like, why did you do that? Like, you could have done this and done this and done this, and it would have been so much better. Anyway, so I'm not saying it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't good. Anyway, so again, it was really, really short. It was spooky and it was confusing. So I did like that I wasn't quite sure what was going on. And again, there was one twist that I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't see that coming. That's cool. I like that. But I just felt like there was so much more that could have been done with this, and it just didn't reach its potential for me. And so I think that's why I didn't care for it that much. So let's see here. What else? Oh, okay, so let's talk about the books I DNF'd. So I did DNF one more book, and I can't even remember why oh yeah. Okay, so I DNF'd Kill Creek early in the week by Scott Thomas. I really wanted to like this book. I did. I went into this thinking, okay, haunted house, I'm really into these. These are the kind of horror stories that I like to read, is that where the house has its own personality and it has its own reason for getting people and stuff. Those are my kind. I mean, said. But this was so we're following 4 horror writers who get kind of trapped into an agreement to go and stay a night at the Kill Creek house, that where is a mansion that was built by a man in the 1800s, and then he and his lover were killed right before the Civil War, and then no one's really lived in the house until like the 70s, 1970s. So it was like 100 years where people were kind of in and out and didn't stay very long, and then the Finch sisters stay there, and then one of them passes away 2 years later, but the other one stays for another 20 years before her death. And yeah, and that's a whole another thing. So it's considered one of the biggest haunted houses in, I think, Kansas. I think that's where it was. Yes, Kansas. And so it has this great potential. So this mogul, media guy talks the 4 into these horror novelists of all different genres of horror into coming, doing an interview there. So for his ratings and everything, and they're all messed up. They all have reasons why they write horror. They're all reasons why they're there. They all have things in their past, which again everybody does, but I mean they're more horrific than others. And then the house does a few things, and again, I got to 204, so I got like halfway, a little under halfway, but it went into a direction I didn't want to go. So it has it where they go, and then, again, if you don't want to know, spoiler, I will drop the book when I'm done spoiling, but point is, they go and they do it, and they have some things happen, and the things happen that I'm not happy about. And then the chapter ends or the section ends when they're leaving after their one night, and they, all survive-ish, things that happened. And, but it wasn't like too much. And then of course, some really sad thing happened at the end of that, that did affect me, which was sad. The problem is that then it's like months later, and somehow they're still all affected. So they're going to have to go back. And I didn't want that. I don't want a go back story to the haunted house at this time. If I have one of those stories, I want it where they were kids and they had to go back. Or like later, I don't know. There's something about that where they stayed that one night. Things happened that I didn't like on one of them for sure. I was not happy with how that went. And then I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to go on that journey where they were, because then the one guy who had writer's block suddenly was, you know, super prolific, and I had issues. Anyway, and again, I don't know if it's because the writer brain in me didn't like that, but I didn't like it. Anyway, so, anyway, DNF, out the door. It just wasn't for me. It's not the horror that I wanted. I wanted to go other ways, and I was very disappointed how that first section wrapped up and the things that happened, and then they go off. I just made me mad. So let's go on. So I didn't actually DNF this. I'm just putting this as it's still in my currently reading, so this is not a DNF. I just meant I'm not going to finish it for Victober. This is Gothic Tales by Elizabeth Gaskell. I'm listening to an audio by Olivia Forrest, who is doing a really good job. I really enjoy the new audio that came out. I got to 102 pages. So I got through like 4 or 5 of the stories. I just finished The Poor Clare, which yeah, because I did not, that was the one I stopped in the middle of when I first started to read this 2 or 3 years ago. So I did get finally through that one, and that went in directions I did not expect. So I think I still have 5 stories, plus the really long, and the really long, the Lois the Witch, which I've never read. So anyway, I'm going to continue listening to this on and off probably. As I said, my audiobook, I listened to this for a day, and no, maybe 2 days, and then I was just like, I can't do any more audiobooks, so I had to set it down. And I started it too late in October to really get it done, because I don't listen to audiobooks much on the weekends, mostly during work or on the way to work. So I will probably pick this up later. I'm hoping to still get it done before the end of the year, so I'm not taking it off my currently reading, so this is not a DNF. This is just a on hold, kind of still on my currently reading, but we'll get to it. So, and again, those are just spooky stories from the Victorian age. And then this book also, I think I just lost steam in all my Victober reads. I usually do by the last week. I think I tried to push it by adding this book, and that is The Beetle by Richard Marsh. So I got 122 pages in, and it's like 360. So I really planned to finish this by the end of the month, but I got to Thursday or Friday, and my brain just went, no, you're done. We're not reading that anymore. And that's when I started picking up a lot of the little stuff that I read, because I read some of those off my phone, because I didn't have my Kindle with me, and I had this book and I didn't want to read it. So I read a lot of little things at work on my lunch break and stuff. So, because then there were like 20 pages that home and, oh, I did read one other book. Okay, hold on just a second. Okay, sorry. But anyway, I'll come back to the book that I missed. I knew I missed one. Darn it. But anyway, The Beetle came out the same year as Dracula, which is why I picked it up. And I've been wanting to read this for the last year or so. I think I heard about it last year. And so I bought it last year, and I meant to read it this year. As I said, so I started it. I still think I'm going to come back to this. I think I just, as I said, I read too much Victorian literature all at the same time during that month. And sometimes I get to the burnout point. So I'm hoping to get to this before the end of the year. If not, it will be probably one of the first books I pick up in the new year to just finish it out. Because I am enjoying it. So this follows... there's like 5 or 6 perspectives that we're going to follow of people, and they're telling the story of what happened to them. And the first one is about a man who's down on his luck, who unfortunately makes the wrong decision to climb in the window of a house to hide from the rain, and is definitely gets taken on an adventure that he never expected. And then the second section that I'm in is a rival of for the love of another, for this woman that he grew up with, that he thinks he is in love with, but again, she doesn't believe him, and she's in love with this other guy who is also kind of related to the first section on something that happens. And it's kind of following people around this one character called Paul, is it Lessingham, and he's a politician and stuff. And there's like this kind of weird thing. Something must have happened to him when he was younger. We're not sure. Anyway, I don't want to give away too much, but there is like shape-shifting. There is kind of mesmerizing, or yeah. Is that what they call? Well, when people or hypnotize people kind of thing. It's kind of like in that. And it's just weird things. Like it's a very strange book. I like it. Again, it outsold Dracula, I think, at first. And then I never heard about it until, as I said, here on BookTube, but like last year. So I do want to finish this. I am going to finish this. It's not right now. My brain just kind of fried on Victorian. So I'm going to give myself a break for November, and then maybe I can, what do you call it? Read it later. Let's see if I can find this book. So I forgot, I did read this also on Friday when I got home from work. This is the book I read that night, which I forgot, is When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain by Ningbo. So this is the second book in the Singing Hills cycle. The first book was the Empress of... Crap, is it with Salt and something? I've read too many books. The Empress of Salt and Fortune. So so that's the one I read earlier this year, I think. And then is it? So then oh man, my iPad today. Anyway, so I read this one. I really enjoyed this. This was a really great little, so it's like a fantasy setting where like it's kind of based off of ancient China. But Chin is a cleric, and they travel around collecting stories, and they want to go through the mountain pass to do something, so they get a guide to go, and they ride a mammoth, which is awesome. Anyway, it's a smaller mammoth. It's not a royal one, but it's a small mammoth. It's awesome, still huge. And they are almost to a way station when they come across, they see tigers that are attacking, and they rescue the man who is in charge of the way station, but then they are now trapped at the way station, and the tigers are there, and then they kind of hold off the tigers because the tigers are shapeshifters, which is awesome. And they tell stories, and they tell a story about a scholar who meets a tiger, and the differences between with a human, how they have remembered the story, and how the tigers remember the story. And it was really good because it's a really good commentary on storytelling and the differences of who's telling the story and who wants what out of the story. I thought it was really well done. It actually was fantastic for that. I thought it was a really great, again, my only criticism is, again, it's because it's short. It's like, I'm just getting like an episode of this cleric, and I always want more, I guess, is that thing, is the only reason why I didn't give it a 5. But really, it was really good. I really recommend the series. I think they're both books are really good, and I'm looking forward to any more that comes in this series. And I do want to check out some of the other book that's by this author, but I just haven't got to it. But I forgot I read that one. I'm glad I remembered that before we went on too far. But so I read a lot of short things this week, just trying to, as I said, my reading kind of went on the rails. Okay, so then the stuff that I'm currently reading, I did start early. The Heroine's Journey by Gail Carriger. This I started yesterday. I just read the first 2 chapters. Yeah, 2 chapters. So I'm just going to read a little bit every day, I think. This is a nonfiction on about writing, but it's talking about the heroine's journey, which is supposed to be, the hero's journey is one kind of archetypes and themes and tropes that go in that direction, and then the heroine's journey is another one, but they're not really gender specific, they're just separate ones. And then anybody can take those different journeys. They're just called that because one has to do with hero's journey, which is definitely more the lone guy who's going out to save the world kind of thing, and nobody can help him. And then the heroine's journey is much more of a community, is more of a gathering people around you to help you get to your end goal and to get everything in the end that you know, that and save everybody and all that kind of stuff. You know, well, I mean, I'm oversimplifying. Anyway, so point is that I started that. I also started The Widow of Rose House by Dana Pillar. So I've heard mixed things on this from some people, but so far I'm really enjoying this. And it's 1875, and a woman who's fairly scandalous from things that happened to her when she was living over in France, things with her husband who passed away a few years after that. It's horrible scandal stuff. So people are not happy that she's back in New York, but she's bought a house just outside of New York City, and that she's going to renovate, and she's going to publish a book on how to do those renovations for the middle class and stuff. And she's having trouble because the house that she bought, which she remembers from her childhood, is haunted. And then there's Sam, who is a scientist, and he's really well known, but he really wants to know more about ghosts and stuff. So he keeps trying to get her to let him do an investigation. And they're just so cute together. Again, it's gonna be, you know, romance in there, but they're just so cute. Anyway, the point is, so far I'm really like, I love Sam's family. Sam's family is awesome. I hope we get more of them in here, because they were in one chapter. Anyway, so I only got about 60 pages in, so I'm going to continue with that, because that's been fun. Then what I'm going to pick up this week, I'm going to start Magic Shifts by Alona Andrews. This is number 8 in the Kate Daniels series. I hope that's right. Yeah. So, again, I'm reading these with Tia and all the books. We're starting this one tomorrow. So, I need to figure out how many pages. Looks like this one is about 370. Anyway, so we'll probably read this through the week. Again, I'm excited to find out what happens next. This is, again, an alternate Atlanta where magic comes and goes in waves, and technology works when the magic is down, and no technology works when the magic is up. And then there are shifters and witches and masters of the dead who pilot vampires, and there is a huge... The things that happened in the last book, again, the last book I just loved. So I'm kind of curious to see how this book goes, because now we're in the aftermath of what happened there. And I'm like, what is going to happen? So I have no idea, but I'm so excited to continue reading that story. And I think audiobook wise, I might, if I don't pick up Gothic Tales and start that, I really need to do my reread of The Will to Battle by Ada Palmer. I listened to the first two in the last couple months, and then the new book is coming out on Tuesday, and I'm getting it from my library. So I'm not sure if I'm going to read it physical or if I'm going to buy the audio as well for that one. But at least I want to do audios to get through the rereads. I don't know. We'll see how I feel. But I'm probably going to read that book as soon as I get it, and perhaps The Stars, because that's the ending book. So I need to reread this because it has been 2-3 years, I think, since this came out. And I need to, oh God, it has been 4 years. So I do want to listen to it. I have that already owned it on audio, so I'm going to listen to that. And I'm probably going to start it this week sometime. I'm not sure. Monday is going to be kind of chaotic, so it probably won't be on Monday, but maybe Tuesday I'll start that when I have more time. Anyway, so that is it. As I said, I'm starting NaNoWriMo tonight at midnight, so we'll see how that goes. So my reading probably is going to slow down. I mean, again, I am going to read the Alona Andrews, and I'm going to try to get the Widow of Rose House done too, and then read a little bit of nonfiction for Nonfiction November. That starts, oh my gosh, I have no idea on the word here what I'm going to do. I have too many books that I read. I DNF'd another book. I continued 3. I did get 4. I continued 4. Yeah, there you go. I did Dracula and that parsonage one, or the Dr. Thorne. I did Dracula's Guest. I did a couple ebooks. I don't know if that's right, but that's close. But look at all the books I continued without even trying. That's pretty awesome. Anyway, I'll clean my board off and hopefully nonfiction, I'll get a lot in here. We'll see next month. Anyway, as I said, I'm not going to have a lot of videos out this month. I will have my book haul out probably later this week. We'll see. I might skip my stats video until December. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see if I get around to it. Point is I'm starting to write on the 1st, and I'm not sure how much time I'm going to have for anything really, because I haven't written all year, and so I'm not sure how this is going to go. But I am determined to try, so that is the main point. So anyway, I know I talked about a lot of books. I read a lot of little things. It was, as I said, and I finished up a lot of things, even though I started a lot. Just out of control. Anyway, did you guys read anything good this week? Did you guys read any of these? What did you think about those? What are you guys doing for Nonfiction November? Are you taking part in NaNoWriMo? Let me know. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.